Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well.
Hello.
Yeah, so today we will continue our last session on tarot. So, Ema, I will not say furthermore. So, can you please start with the tarot deck itself?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Welcome. And thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to show you the tarot. So the deck that I have in front of me that you'll be able to see now is the Druidcraft Tarot deck. This is the first deck that I ever bought. It's actually not a traditional tarot deck, although it contains many of the same cards. There are a few which have slightly different interpretation because the standard Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck and actually original tarot decks have more of a kind of Christian perspective on them. So some of the principles and archetypes and ideas that they show are universal, but they are maybe from a slightly more Christian or traditional Catholic perspective. And maybe this is part of the reason why the Catholic Church never had a problem with divination. But yes, this deck here that I chose, and I was guided to it when I was doing all my research, because when you get your first deck, it's a good idea to go online and to find which deck appeals to you, which one speaks to you, which one feels right to you, and have a look at all the pictures of the different cards, have a look at the artwork, have a read of it, and see what the kind of the philosophy and the idea behind it and the inspiration behind the deck is. There are so many different decks out there. And if you're as geeky as I am, you might want to do a bit of research on some specifically kind of tarot-based organizations and read some reviews on their websites and things like that. Tanvir, was there something you wanted to ask?
Yep. So, I want to ask about the oracle card as well. So, is it also a kind of tarot deck?
No, but it's a form of divination. Oracle cards are very much, in the last session of these, we were talking about how there were many variations on the original tarot before it became more standardized. Oracle cards are that times infinity. There's no set of rules for oracle cards other than you need to be able to use them for divination, for messages from guides, or from picking up messages about you and your path and your development or the world around you. So they are very much tailored by the people who create them. There's no set number of cards you need, no set archetypes. You just read the book that comes with the deck and you use them either as they suggest or as you feel guided to. So it's a lot more free and a lot more open.
Right. So it's like we need to tune with their energies. So what they're trying to explain, and then we can go through those type of cards, right?
Yes, I'd say you don't need to study as much with oracle cards. It's just a very good idea to be guided by your intuition. And it's a really good, if you kind of work with the idea of guides, or if you work with the idea of kind of connecting with your own higher self or something like that, then you can use the oracle cards, just follow your own intuition and what you feel drawn to do. A bit like doing divination with other tools, but these decks do have an energy of their own as well.
Got it.
As do tarot decks as well, generally. So yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Please carry on.
Cool. Lovely, thank you. So one thing I would say is, with some tarot decks, they are very beautiful and they can be based on artwork by very famous people, and that's amazing. But not all of them use or include the traditional symbols Not all of them even include the numbers, and the numbers can be quite important for tarot, not with numerology being a part of it as well, if you choose to use that as well. So I would suggest that if you're choosing your first deck, that you go for something that's not 100 miles away from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, the standardized deck, because if you start off with a deck that's you feel drawn to because it's beautiful and because of the energy, that's amazing. But you are going to be limiting yourself and your experience and your learning, because you're not going to be able to interact with those other symbols and those other layers of meaning that will be there. And you'll just have more work to do later on when you start to use other decks, if you start to use other decks. Okay. So this deck is it's more Druid and Wicca based in terms of the perspective it brings. So it's less about, your world's going to come crashing down and you need to be afraid of the devil card and things like that. It's more along the lines of the devil card represents obsession and being trapped by your own by trapped in kind of prisons of your own making, and it's about getting yourself out of that mindset. Whereas there can be kind of the impression with other kind of more Christian based ones that actually you should do this or you shouldn't do that, and there's this feeling of judgment. And in fact, I don't believe there's a judgment card in this. It's not using that, because it's based on the more cyclical, natural world, not judgment, just progress and evolution, and compassion based kind of approach.
Right. So I have some questions. It's like in the astrological aspect, we know some malefic planets, some benefic planet, and those malefic planet doesn't mean that it's going to ruin you, but it's like saying you that's something like okay, you need to be careful, or if it is in some malefic house as well, so it's interpreted something else. So it is not like it's a devil card means okay, you are going to be finished, or you are not loved by God. It's not like that.
Doesn't mean your life is ended just because you get the Tower card. Yes.
Right. Because I have seen in one of the video that one person who is reading the tarot card, and he's like scaring the people. So if it is like it is like that, then you are just it's going to be happen and you are done. So,
oh my gosh, no, that's not what it's about. Flipping heck.
No.
What's wrong with that person? No,
I don't know.
Not about that. No, tarot is never. It's never something to be scared of. It's even if it's difficult messages, it's so that you are tooled up to be able to do something about it, and to know what needs to happen, and to actually take those steps. So, for example,
that's the thing.
If you get the Tower card, it's not a bad thing. The Tower card is basically, I will see if I can find it very quickly. It's basically an image of it's when the foundations were not firm enough to begin with. It's when things are unsustainable and they're about to reach that point where everything comes crashing down.
Right.
So it means things are going to change in a very big way. But with that, there's the opportunity to build your foundations more solidly and to make actual progress. So you're not going to be expending as much energy keeping things going that are not sustainable, that are not built on firm foundations that they should be.
Right.
So it's never something scary. It's never something bad. What came straight up? The Tower. That looks pretty scary, huh? That looks pretty scary. I'll show you on here as well.
Yeah.
That looks pretty apocalyptic. However, there we go. However, it's not. It's things are going to end, but with endings come fresh new energy and beginnings. Sometimes you do have to wipe the slate clean. You have to move away toxic situations, toxic jobs, toxic relationships. Or it could be something from the outside that is not sustainable that's going to shift. Although although this is one of the major arcana, this card, and that usually reflects the inner journey. It can relate to what's going on in the world around you and the energies around you as well,
Right.
depending
Right.
on the spread that you choose, depending on the way that you choose to read the cards, the pattern that you draw them out in, the question that you're asking. So yeah, the tower is very scary looking, but it's really important and a really, really good card to get.
Yeah,
In some circumstances, it's important.
yeah, I have a related question. So if I found that some divination message from tarot card is not like, I'm not liking it, how to deal with that situation? So
Yeah,
yeah.
that happens because,
Hmm.
we all like to get pleasant messages that, yeah, things are out to continue to get amazing and, yeah, you're going to make your fortune with lots of really high pentacle cards and
Hmm.
your all of your challenges are going to melt away. No,
Hmm.
it's not always like that because it's actually something that we need to approach with an open heart and an open mind, with humility, without seeking any particular outcome, just as we do with dowsing.
Yeah,
We need
right.
to be open to receive the messages. Otherwise,
Hmm.
we're going to reject them. It won't do us any good, and there's no point. And that's kind of disrespectful as well to the
Hmm.
process.
Hmm.
So if you approach tarot, it's because you want to find out the truth. You don't
Hmm.
get to decide what the truth is. You're being shown
Right.
the truth. So you have to be willing to accept it as it comes to you.
Hmm.
If you get a message that's hard, if you get something that's going to be really challenging and worries you, or you don't see how best to navigate it, then
Hmm.
what you can do is ask another question, draw another card. So you can ask for clarification on how best to navigate. What's the way through this? Is there something that I need to do or that I could do to avoid this? And you can adapt and add to the spread of cards. You ask the question, you move to where in the deck you feel drawn to draw a card from. You use your left hand because you're receiving the wisdom. That's how I do it anyway, and how many people do. And you draw the card, and then you look at the card. And so that's what I would say is seek clarification. Don't ever reject a message because you don't like it. Because, I mean, why are you asking the deck? Why are you asking for the wisdom if you're not ready to accept something that's not palatable to you?
Yeah, so
It's
it's also like I think the pendulum dowsing as well. So
mm,
sometimes when we have a kind of strong expectations that what the outcome would be, the reading
mm,
is not that good. And
yeah,
sometimes if we're uh, doing that thing again and again, so suppose dowsing is showing that no, you shouldn't go, no, you shouldn't go.
mm,
And after going the first or second opinion, it's a start to give you the result which you want to know from the pendulum.
mm,
So it's like giving you the result that okay, whatever you do. So because divine wants to be in tune with the message that what I am sending to that particular person, he or
mm,
she is not right now ready to get or interpret that message, so
yeah,
giving whatever he or she wants now.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's why we need to be more open with our reading.
yes,
Whatever the reading
definitely,
is come, and we need to trust on our readings.
yes.
Right.
And if you I think self-awareness and awareness of how we feel when we draw the cards and what comes up for us is a really important part of it as well. So if you have feelings of concern or you feel like you want to reject it, just notice that and be okay with the fact that you feel like this. You don't have to act on that.
Hmm.
And be aware that you may be feeling triggered. So
Hmm.
take a picture of the spread, take a photo of the cards,
Hmm.
come back to them later when
Right.
you're in the right frame of mind. And
Right.
interpreting the cards, especially when you're very new to tarot, you don't have
Hmm.
to interpret them straight away. So one thing that I used to do when I first started giving tarot readings is that I would do the reading. I would look for the meanings of each of the cards. I would either remember them because I was learning them from scratch, or I would use the book for extra insight. And most decks will come with a book. And it gives you interpretations, kind of standard interpretations for each of them. And I would write down the interpretation for each of the cards, and where it was and what it represented. And then I would go away and I would finish the reading. I would take my photo, I would go away, and I would just let it all settle. I would let my mind figure out all the different threads, how they fit together, and I would get more of a complete idea of what the reading was actually telling me. And it can be really multi-layered with tarot. So yeah, it's a really good idea to not push yourself to come out with the answer straight away, because it probably won't come straight away, especially if it's a really deep reading. Allow yourself the time and space, allow your guides to work with you. Go and do the washing up, go and do something else. Don't think about it, but just let the subconscious mind work with it. And then the answers will come forward more clearly. So yeah, I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, so I have a linked question. So how much we can trust on the readings?
So we are always responsible for the decisions that we take in our lives. This is meant to give us something to reflect on, to note what resonates with us. You should never go into a tarot reading asking, should I do this thing and change my life? That's not how it works. You are responsible for your own decisions and choices. The tarot will give you tools to take a different perspective on your situation so that you can make your own decision, either based on past actions and what's happened in similar situations to you, or based on some of the universal archetypal kind of messages that you get in the books. But bear in mind that it's about you and your intuition. So your situation is going to have some things that will resonate from the book, but some things that won't, because it's never going to be a literal thing of what the book says, because it's you and it's all these other influences. And it's for you to weave it into your life and to meditate on it and to check in with your guides and to make use of that knowledge and that insight to make the decisions that feel the most right to you, because you already have the answer. It's already there for you. This is just giving you a bit of extra kind of context and maybe surety. If you're not sure between A or B, you've tried working it out, you've tried figuring it out, you've done all the homework, and that's the key. You can't delegate responsibility for all the homework. You've got to figure things out for yourself and do the hard journeying for yourself, and then the tarot can help you with that extra insight. It will give you more wisdom, and I hope that helps. Some people find that to be a cop out because they want an absolute answer, like, can I trust my boss? Actually, this is what you need to know about your boss's character and their weaknesses and what might be going on in the situation around you. It's up to you to decide whether can you trust anybody. You have to trust them to be themselves, and you have to have this information about the situation around you and around them, and then you figure it out for yourself. It's not it. I mean, you can do a thing where it's like cards with this number mean yes and cards with that number mean no. But that's not something that I've ever found particularly helpful myself. And maybe it's because I kind of was it's a bit like with the dowsing. I was never really that much into the yes, no questions and answers, because for me, that's not how life works. It's never that straightforward. So I think my energy doesn't resonate with that. So the yes, no questions never really worked for me because of that. I had natural blockers to them. So yeah.
Yeah.
But some people do
So
use it for that.
right. Thanks for explaining that. So it is like kind of giving a perspective that what other things we need to uh, consider before making any
Mhm.
decision, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It can give us insight into hidden motivations and hidden
Right.
factors that we may not be aware of, things that we
Hmm.
need to plan around,
Hmm.
things that we need to be wary of, and also things within ourselves that we need to work on
Hmm.
first.
Hmm.
And that can actually be the most difficult type of message that we get, that we need to do some shadow work with ourselves, and we need to heal ourselves and address those parts of us that we don't like to acknowledge exist, and integrate that, because that's a big part of healing and growing as an individual. And that's what tarot is also about. It's not just about the circumstances and the everyday, which is actually what the minor arcana relate to. They relate to external circumstances, the mundane world, the everyday, kind of the world around us and the people around us, the everyday actions that we take, rather than the inner journey, although that affects the inner journey as well. But yeah, it's not just about external circumstances and what's going to happen and other people. It's primarily about us and our journey of self-development and self-healing and growth and integration. It's about
Right.
us being the fool, making that
Mhm.
journey through life and learning those lessons, gaining those experiences, and then gaining ultimately everything.
Yeah. Thanks, Emma. So today's
Mm-hmm.
last question. So
Mm-hmm.
do I need to do the reading by myself, or someone can do it on behalf of me?
Both, I would say. If you're going to go to a reader, then
Hmm.
I would I would be careful about who you go to. Go to somebody that you trust, but also be aware that the information that they give you and their interpretation that's going to be their interpretation. That's going to be influenced by their own experiences and their own lens and their own, yeah,
Context.
their own context, yeah, and their own. It's like they're looking at the world through their own, kind of them shaped glasses. They will see
Right.
things through their own eyes. So make sure that you know what they're like. You know what sort of interpretations they're going to give, how many years of experience they've got.
Hmm.
Make sure that you either don't know them at all, or that you've got they know you pretty well and you've got a good relationship with them, because that sort of thing can subconsciously color the reading that you get. Um,
Right.
I've found that there have been some people I've been to for readings,
Hmm.
partly when they were training, to give them feedback and to help them.
Hmm.
And they have, some of those people have put a slant on the cards, and
Hmm.
partly because they may not have that much information about me and my life and where I am right
Hmm.
now. They've been a bit too definitive about, this is what this means, this is what you're like, you need to do this, my guides are telling me this, that, and that about you. And I don't actually that really wasn't helpful. And that was not about me, that was about them.
Hmm.
Looking at the cards, I was able to give myself a reading of what the cards meant. That was a lot more accurate. So, but another time, that the one time that I've had a very, very powerful reading from somebody else was when I went to Treadwell's bookshop in London, and I
Hmm.
was so blessed to be able to get a reading from the amazing, well, I believe she's the founder of the bookshop, Christina Oakley Harrington, who gave me the most beautiful and powerful and spot on reading.
Hmm.
And it was so helpful. It was exactly what I needed. But even before I booked in to have that reading on the day when I was there,
Hmm.
I didn't know whether I was going to get a reading or not that day. I thought, I will go there and I will see what my guides tell me when I'm there. And I will look at the books and what they have there, and I will see if it feels right on the day. And so I did that, and it did feel right, and it was right. So follow your inner guidance, and be aware that people are human,
Mm-hmm.
Go to somebody you trust, and always trust your own intuition, and make sure that you feed into the process as well, because a good tarot reader will empower you, and they will give their insight, but they will give that as a guidance to you, for you to integrate into how you interpret the cards as well.
Right.
So it should be very much a two-way process between
Mm-hmm.
the person asking the questions, receiving the reading, and the person giving the reading. Also, make sure that you go to somebody who gets you to think of the question, because finding the right question is as much a part of the process, and is a really important part of the process, in fact. So don't just go to somebody who says, oh yes, I know what I need to do for you, leave it to me, I'll do it all for you, and I'll tell you what you need to do with your life. That's
The
not
example which I told you in the earlier session, so it's like that guy
yes.
is like, okay, your reading is very bad, you are done, so I cannot. So it's like fearing people. And
Yeah.
later on, someone was asking that, I mean, he was queried by some other people. So
Mm-hmm.
is that reading forbidden in the religion, or is like is this coming from the the negative entity? So
Mm.
he admitted it, yeah, that is. So don't fall in the trap of those people, so
Oh
it
dear.
will make your life miserable and mistrust
Yeah.
all those things. I mean, it's those type of people are in every domain, in the astrology
Yeah.
and dowsing, whatever, house healing. Some people
Yeah.
just make people fearful, and they
Yeah.
want to earn through those type of fear, that he will be the only person who can address all those things and can fix whatever wrong thing is going on, and make people
Mm.
more fearful. And
Yeah.
sometimes when people figure it out that no, what he is telling is just so, they
Yeah.
just reject all those philosophies, that what tarot, what astrology, those are not working. So so
Yeah.
they're not only making this domain cluttered, but also making
Mm.
life harder for the other people who are giving the right reading.
Exactly. It's really interesting. There's yeah, because mediumship and spiritualism as a, as a path and a religion, in the UK, effectively suffered from that,
Mhm,
for many years. When spiritualism first came over from America,
mhm,
um, there were a lot of people who were absolutely genuine, and who were working with mediumship, and who were doing really amazing work.
mhm.
But there are always going to be people who are untrustworthy, who try to make a quick buck from it, who try to con people. But you get con merchants in everything, from buying, from going to the shops and buying really, really cheap things that are really quite dodgy, and are not going to do the job you buy them for, all the way through to kind of mediumship, people who try to trick other people, and that you get those in all walks of life.
Yeah, selling the
Dishonest
snake
people.
oil. Snake.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. Or selling Chafel instead of Chanel, fake perfumes from the back of a lorry. It's not about tarot, it's not about the mediumship or the spiritualism, it's not about the actual genuine path itself. It's about
Right.
people being dodgy. So the law actually had to change to stop
Mhm.
people from being dodgy, whereas originally people who were spiritualists were being put into prison just for being spiritualists and for doing mediumship, because of
Right.
outdated laws. I've gone off on one slightly there, but it's something that has been an issue and a problem for people in the world of non-monotheistic
Mm,
religion, non-mainstream religion in the UK for
mm,
well over 100 years. So
mhm.
yeah, it's please don't fall into the trap of thinking that just because there are people out there who are confidence tricksters, that's what the whole thing is like. That's not the case at all.
Thanks, Ima, for explaining all those basic questions on tarot. And
My
in our
pleasure.
next, thanks. And in the next session, we will practically see how tarot works. Yeah.
And leave
See you
any
soon.
comments below that you're if there's anything you're interested in about tarot, if you've had experiences with it yourself, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Yeah. See you in the
Bye,
next session.
Sam.
Bye.
See you
Bye.
soon. Bye.